Good morning, this is Shelby Law with the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing for Sunday, September 20th, 2020. Fire potential impacts for the next 3 days are shown here. We just have a little bit of wind across the southern Great Basin today. That continues into Monday, and we'll start to see some moisture come up into southern and southeast Utah on Monday. That moisture will linger into Tuesday for some isolated scattered precipitation in those areas, mainly over the higher elevations. And then on wind, we'll see on Tuesday we'll see winds pick up also over western Nevada and up into western and central Idaho as well. Smoke has dispersed quite a bit this morning over Idaho as some of the fires in the Pacific Northwest and central Idaho have received some precipitation and higher relative humidities. Smoke over California continues, however, and that will move into northern Nevada this morning and then increase over northern Nevada this afternoon. Upper air smoke shows the same story with clearing across the north and some smoke still lingering over mainly Nevada and portions of northern and central Utah by this afternoon. The past 24 hours weather is shown here. We did have some precipitation mainly over eastern Idaho and northern Utah yesterday with a fair amount of lightning activity accompanying those storms as well. Fire activity is shown here. Initial attack picked up a little bit where we saw some of that lightning in eastern Nevada and up into northern Utah as well. Fire behavior on a lot of our large fires has decreased significantly in some areas and not as significantly in others due to the precipitation and higher relative humidities even in the absence of precipitation. Observed precip for the last 7 days is shown here on the left. This doesn't include the precipitation from yesterday, but does highlight what we saw on Friday over mainly western Idaho and northern Nevada. And the past 30 days is shown here on the right. Still have some dry pockets certainly there, mainly over Nevada and western Utah. ERCs have been on the downward trend for the past 2 days, coming down significantly in some areas. We have wiped out many of the reds and brown and purples across the north. We are still seeing some dryness and higher ERCs across central and southern Utah where no precipitation was observed and the humidities didn't come up that much either. So if we take a closer look at the ERCs for the Payette National Forest area, here we're seeing a pretty significant drop in the last couple of days back down to normal. This is mainly due to that precipitation and high relative humidities for over a 24-hour period of time. And then also across eastern Nevada here, those ERCs are still pretty high, have seen a little bit of a drop over the last couple of days to below those historical records, but still above normal, quite a bit above normal for the time of year. This morning's satellite imagery shows the low that brought that precipitation to the Great Basin already moving off to the north and east, and drier westerly flow moving back into the Great Basin. So for today, dryness returns to Idaho and Nevada, and we'll begin to see a little bit of that southerly moisture, kind of a strange feature for this late in September, but some southerly moisture moving into southern and southeast Utah. Won't see much in the way of precipitation today, but that'll pick up maybe a little bit tomorrow. So for winds this afternoon, seeing that increase just to a breezy wind pattern over southern Nevada and southern Utah. Not expecting any, not putting out any high risk for that event, but just highlighting the slightly breezier winds. Relative humidities are up quite a bit across the north, but will be decreasing back down into the teens for Nevada and Utah. On Monday, we'll begin to see that moisture move in a little bit more over southern and southeast Utah for an increase in some chances for isolated precipitation there. We still have brown dryness levels for much of Nevada and central Utah. And we'll begin to see some moisture beginning to move back into the Pacific Northwest ahead of another low pressure system there. And that will increase winds just a bit across the west. So for precipitation tomorrow, we'll likely just see a little bit of an increase in precip over the higher elevations of southern Utah. And then the wind speeds pick up once again over western Nevada and southern Nevada, and then up into the central Idaho mountains as well. On Tuesday, we can see the low pressure start to strengthen and move a little bit closer to the west coast here, and we'll see the moisture continuing over eastern Utah. So we do have some high-risk triggers issued for wind for western Idaho and western Nevada out ahead of that low as wind speeds pick up. Precipitation expected for Tuesday is shown here, mainly expecting that precip to remain limited to the higher elevations of Utah. But the amounts are looking a little bit better, so maybe up to 1/10 to maybe 2/10 of an inch possible over the higher elevations. And then winds remain quite breezy on Tuesday, especially over western and northwest Nevada and up into southwest Idaho. The 3-day precip totals highlighting that precipitation moving into the higher elevations of Utah and possibly up into western Wyoming also. On Wednesday, the moisture from Utah clears out a bit, and we'll continue to see the effects of this low pressure system off the Canadian coast, bringing moisture into the Pacific Northwest, not quite moving into the Great Basin just yet, so still generally dry conditions in the Great Basin for midweek. And then by Thursday, some of that moisture will begin to spill into the northern reaches of the Great Basin, still very dry over Nevada and western Utah. And then by Friday, some of that moisture will begin to move into mainly the central Idaho mountains, some higher RHs even across southern Idaho, but definitely stronger winds in place over Utah and Nevada as well. And then on Saturday, that low kind of quickly moves through off to the north and east, but we will see some precipitation, the effects of precipitation for the weekend over Idaho and Wyoming mainly. And you can see our dryness levels moving back into the green category by Saturday over the central Idaho mountains. And the 7-day precip totals are shown here, really just looking for the precip in Utah coming in mainly Monday and Tuesday, and then precip to Idaho coming in late in the week, in the weekend, Saturday, Sunday timeframe. As associated with that next low pressure system, but still the Pacific Northwest getting another healthy shot of moisture along the coast here. Good news there. And this extended forecast for September 27th through October 3rd puts the bullseye of heat right back over California and western Nevada for warm temperatures region-wide, and then below normal chances for precip over much of the area, especially over the north. This concludes today's fire potential briefing. Please check back tomorrow for the latest updates.